All right, welcome into Dog Central on a Thursday. I am Graham Coffey. This is Josh Hancher. We are here. Man, it's already week 3. It feels like we just started the season, but we finally have some conference football happening in Athens and some good games across the rest of the country that we're going to talk about after we break down Georgia, South Carolina. Josh, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What's the vibe?
I'm pretty excited to get a good team to play. We get to see a little bit of what we're made of this year. There's a lot of question marks. I mean, the games have been, easy and the competition's been pretty lacking, but South Carolina is playing. I mean, they're 1-1. They beat Furman and lost pretty badly to North Carolina, but I still think they kind of have maybe a little better than I thought. They've still got their problems are what we knew they were, but Rattler seems to be playing or have the potential to elevate his game a little bit under the circumstances, what he's got to work with. So I'm excited to actually see an SEC game.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I feel like this whole thing starts and ends in a way. This game is Spencer Rattler, right? Like he is playing inspired football. He really is. I think he was 25 for 28 this past week. Hasn't thrown an interception yet this year, despite being under a lot of pressure. Just he's making good decisions that he maybe didn't make in the past, and him and Xavier Leggett seem to really have a kind of a shorthand with each other, so to speak. Like Leggett is leading the SEC in a lot of receiving categories. 296 yards with 15 receptions on 17 targets. And, I always am a yard per route run nerd. He's got a 4.35 yards receiving per route run so far this year, which is basically 4.0 is like the benchmark of extremely, extremely elite in that stat. Like Jalen Hyatt was the only SEC receiver up over 4.0 last year, if I'm not mistaken. So,
exactly. I mean, and Antoine Wells, Juice Wells was one of the hyped players, one of the few players from South Carolina roster that was on the SEC media team preseason. And some say he might have been able to even go pro last year, but he's back. And then so he's not off to a good start, which probably means they're,
I think he's hurt.
Oh, is he hurt? Well, yeah. I mean, regardless, you've got Leggett who's stepping up, and that's what you, as a South Carolina fan, would hope that if your star's not there, his star's not well, his star's not playing well, you got somebody there. And yeah, I mean, and there was I was in the comments of a Spurs Up show and kind of breaking down the two wide receiver rooms, and and South Carolina fans are pretty excited about what they've got, and they said, and they were saying, well, look at Georgia's room, it's deep, it is, but it's it's still early, but I mean, South Carolina's wide receiver core is productive, if not deep. It's definitely productive, like you said. Like it's gone bonkers to start the year.
Yeah, and I mean, the interesting thing too is just the number of guys who are normally when you call an offense gimmicky, it kind of comes off insulting, and I'm not doing that right here. Like it's just if you look at South Carolina's roster and these skill position guys, there are dudes all over the place that used to play like another position, right? Takarion Joyner was a 4-star dual threat quarterback out of Charleston coming out of high school. Now he plays running back, but it wasn't that long ago. Less than 2 full years ago, he was 9 of 9 passing for 160 yards and a touchdown in the Mayo Bowl against UNC, right? Like he can throw the ball, and they can do some things with, throwback passes and different sort of trickeration. You got Luke Doty, who was the starting quarterback for the Gamecocks when Georgia came to Columbia in 2020. Now he's a wideout, playing in the slot mostly. And last week he had 5 receiving snaps with a 36-yard touchdown catch against Wofford. No, who did they play? Furman. I'm sorry, not Wofford.
Furman.
Those two are easy to confuse. Pardon me.
Furman, Wofford, Presbyterian. They're all
yeah, the Blue Hose. Yeah. The Citadel, Citadel's a little more military-ish, but lots of small private schools in South Carolina. And he also had 3 catches on 3 targets for 41 yards against UNC. So, we've seen Doty do it against some solid competition. They got the Nicholas Harbor kid who really hasn't done much yet, but was the number 1 recruit in the country to some people, 6'5", 240 plus pounds, and ran a 10.2 second 100-meter in high school. Absolute athletic, one of one, top 0.001% athlete on the face of planet Earth. Could probably, if he wanted to be, go off and be like the next Usain Bolt, but he's playing wide receiver in Columbia, South Carolina. So there's weapons, but Leggett seems to be, Leggett's definitely the main focal point. Nobody else on that roster has over 90 yards so far this year. There's guys that have some chunk plays and have made some key plays, but Leggett's sitting here with 296 yards, and that's a good thing because this running game has been pretty woof, extremely woof. If I'm not mistaken, they are, let's see here. So against UNC, DeCarrion Joyner, who's the number 1 back, he had 12 carries for 23 yards. I did a little research last night to give you a picture on how poor his blocking help was. He had 24 yards after contact in a game where he had 23 yards rushing total. So he was on average being hit basically right at slightly behind the line of scrimmage. Even against Furman, they haven't really been able to run around the edges. They had some success kind of leading on smaller FCS defensive tackles up the middle, but the run game, I don't expect them to have much success on Saturday. Do you?
I wouldn't expect them to try to. They're not going to try to impose their will on the Georgia run defense. I think they're gonna. They're certainly going to run it to keep us honest, but I think they're going to get the ball out of Rattler's hands quickly. Give the guys hopefully the ball with some space and make some plays, and then hopefully try to bust some over the top. Basically going to put it in Rattler's hands. I don't know. That's got to be their game plan. I think it's about getting the ball quickly and getting the ball to the playmaker's hands quickly and not trying to do it between the tackles for sure. I think you've got some plays that we're going to look at later where the running backs are, the wheel routes are going to be in play and getting the ball to screen passes to the running backs, and then also getting the balls to their to Leggett and some of their other receivers.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about just kind of the statistical matchup in this game before we jump into these plays real quick. You've been putting together these beautiful PDFs, and you've been kind enough to share them over on Dog Central with the community there, and everybody's been really fired up about just, the stuff looks gorgeous. It's clean. You got the heat charts and everything going on here. What kind of stands out to you statistically about this matchup?
Certainly the defense has been a problem spot so far. They're averaging over 40% success rate on defense. And that's not good. You want to see that number low 40s, if not under 40% success rate. And that's with, they played a good North Carolina team, but that's also playing a Furman team. They're averaging 5.8 yards per play, and that EPA, which basically is sort of an explosive rating, means that's a pretty high number. Again, you want to see that in the low ones, under 1.100. So they've given up big plays, and they've given them up at a high frequency. That's what that Georgia offense versus South Carolina defense looks like to me. And certainly that passing game metric is, 47% success rate is not good. So it should be there. Georgia should be able to move the ball on them. And the offense on the other side, if you want to look at that offense over there, you see where the blue is. If blue is good, red is bad on these charts. Like you said, the heat map. Yeah, the passing game has been, going great for the Gamecocks there. I mean, 9 yards per play and a 5.24 EPA. That's stout for some passing metrics and stuff. But yeah, look at that defensive. I mean, I'm sorry, excuse me. Look at that rushing offense there. Yeah, 3.3 yards per play and a sub 40% success rate. So yeah, they're going to be passing
explosive rate too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's Georgia's defense there has been it's against pretty it's TBD on when we see a team that's better roster than the two they've seen so far. But yeah, they're picking up where they've left off. I mean, these numbers these numbers are going to stick. There are new players every year, but there is a Georgia's defense, run defense is not going to change dramatically overnight, even with new personnel. So, it points to the thing. Yeah, this ball is going to be put in Spindler Rattler's hands
for sure. And it seems like the interesting thing about South Carolina is even with as well as Rattler played last week, going 25 for 28, like we talked about a second ago, and I think he had 340 something yards, if I'm not mistaken. 345 yards, 3 touchdowns on 25 of 27 passing. Again, no INTs yet this year. Man, this game that they were playing against Furman at home, they give up a 6-play, 68-yard touchdown drive early in the first quarter, and then they match it, and then Furman comes right back with a drive of their own. Again, 11 plays, 66 yards, and 504 to go up 14-7. Rattler and co. come back on a 75-yard, 10-play drive. And then, they hit Luke Doty on a 36-yard pass with 43 seconds left in the second quarter to make it 20-14. And somehow they got the ball back and scored again on a 75-yard drive to end the half. I went back and watched it. There was this crazy kind of play where the pocket broke down and Rattler rolled out right and launched I shit you not, like a 60-yard dart off his back foot down the sideline to leg it. And then they scored, I think, a touchdown the next play. Point being, they were in a dogfight with Furman for a half, basically.
Hey, Graham, if you want to search, I believe there's the Furman advanced box score that's in that data too, and you can see that actually in the win probability there in the mid-second quarter actually favored Furman, and you'll again see that explosive run rate for South Carolina was 1.4.
Would that be at the top or the bottom here?
It'd be down at the bottom.
Okay,
at the end of that document. I believe I put those in there.
But I think it might be the other document that you're talking about.
Okay, if I did, apologize. I thought I included the box scores. But yeah, I mean, the running game actually had a better game versus North Carolina that did Furman. So and yeah, the win probability, actually, like I said, that game was 14-14 at one point and showed some that it was a 50-50 game versus Furman mid-second quarter, and they got it together and they won decisively. But it was. They still, and that's why you're seeing Spencer Rattler throw 28 times in a game versus Furman. They want to get as much, as many reps as they can for that offense because, like you said, they're piecemealing it on some levels with players playing different positions and just trying to figure out what they got, which is not what we're seeing out of Georgia. Georgia knows what they've got. They're spreading the ball around to a bunch of players, getting everybody involved. But we're going to start to see what the sort of the core contributors in this SEC game coming up Saturday. Oh dear. Just knocked my camera over.
No worries.
Let's get into the plays.
What's that?
Let's
go to the plays. The last thing I was gonna say was just it's interesting that South Carolina, all the things we just said, but there is a little bit of curiousness of will Georgia struggle a little bit here just because of the amount of I think there's maybe a little PTSD of Georgia against Ohio State and them facing a really good passing offense, and I don't know that South Carolina is not that. I can promise you that, but we still just haven't seen this secondary with a lot of new faces against a team that's going to stress them at all on the back end yet. But yeah, let's get into the plays. Okay. Ready to rock here. So this first drive of the game, you got 3rd and 12. And UNC is going to get pressure with just 3 pass rushers. Rattler makes kind of a risky throw there. Doesn't pay for it. So the point of that clip is just to let you know that, hey, Carolina sacked Spencer Rattler 8 times. He had 15 dropbacks where he didn't even throw the ball in this game because he was under such duress. And then he also had, I believe it was 27 total dropbacks. He was under pressure against UNC. So under pressure a lot. Here, right tackle, the tackle spot is a problem for these guys right now. And the right tackle is just going to fail to set the edge on the run. We just talked about, USC has not been able to run the ball. Here, you're going to see that. Moving forward to 3rd and 9. That's going to come up here in a second. So Rattler, this is a dime right here. Like two rushers in his face, puts the ball between 2 defensive backs. Like, this is why we're praising him. He's doing this not out of clean pockets, but under duress. And there's some good reverse angle here. I'm surprised that wasn't a targeting, or not a targeting, but a roughing the passer. Again, you're going to get pressure on him if you want it, but he's also going to make plays with guys in his face.
His leg is fault.
Yeah, dude. I mean, this is what Georgia's got to deal with. He's 6'3.5", 6'4", and he's 219. He's a big body, and he'll go and get those up in the air. Like, that's a beautiful catch. And, that's going to be Kamari Lassiter on Saturday. That's more Leggett. They'll work him across the middle. Like, this whole offense is kind of running through him right now. No exaggeration. That was him. That was Leggett on the block out on the perimeter here. And you got the screen pass. The slot receiver they have, I can't pronounce his first name, but his last name is Brown. And he's shifty with the ball in his hand. He's another one of those like 5'8", 5'9" kind of guys who they'll get out into space and just let them work. And Georgia's going to have to be good in the screen game because South Carolina, like we just talked about, they can't really run the ball from traditional designed runs. So this is an extension of a run game, and they do have some receivers who can block well on the perimeter. That's a matchup to watch. More South Carolina run getting blown up. This play in particular, I picked out because the tight end, Trey Knox, he just gives up inside leverage. Oh, you're good. You're fine. They'll see it in a second. Yeah, he just gives up the inside on the snap, and this play's over from the start. You might remember Knox. He played for Arkansas for 4 years, and he's a good receiving tight end. He's a much, much better pass blocker than he is a run blocker. And so they're going to need him to help in the pass block side of things, but they have to put him out there and run, or it's going to be too obvious, the tendencies. More Spencer Rattler getting knocked out. And I mean, that's a 6-man rush by UNC. Like, so point being, Carolina did bring, like, Georgia's not often bringing 6 guys. If they're bringing pressure, they're usually bringing 5, but they do this a lot. This is a simulated pressure where they stack a bunch of dudes up at the line of scrimmage pre-snap, make it look like they're going to blitz 6, 7 guys, and then they're going to drop some of these guys off the edge. And that's a lot of Rattler's completions are coming down low underneath. And so I expect you'll see this a lot from Georgia on Saturday, where they're going to drop guys into coverage like this and just try to confuse all the lanes for him and not give him these easy 7-8 yard completions in between the hashes. That's going to be the game plan if I had to guess. So let's look at their defense. They got ran on pretty well by Carolina. It doesn't really show up in the box score because UNC got up 17 early in the third and kind of hid away from them. But bad tackling up front here. I mean, that's not a 50-yard run, but it's just like those things will matter, especially in a game like this against Georgia where they have such small margin for error.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference between, a 38% success rate and a 42 that could be, one more drive, one more set of downs or whatever that can cost you snaps on your defense and not be able to finish the fourth quarter for sure.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Carolina ran it 38 times against them, which basically said, we can do this efficiently against you. But tight end seam there off of a little fake bubble screen action. Just obviously Georgia's got a tight end that's pretty good. This is a matchup I'm watching a lot is how Georgia will pick on these linebackers. If you don't mind going back one play there to that 3rd and 4. South Carolina's linebackers have been targeted 14 times this year, and they've given up 14 receptions. Now, 0-0 is Debo Williams. He's doing a better job, but that's Stone Blanton right there. That's the guy I'd pick on if I can get if I can line Dylan Bell in the backfield and get him on Stone Blanton, then I might have 6, or same with Cash Jones for that matter. Like that's somebody that if Georgia can spread Carolina out and force those guys to play man coverage, they will have a huge advantage. Here, this was something else USC lost Nick Imamori, who's a really, really good safety. First drive of this game to a hamstring or a foot or something like that. UNC to work these corner routes a lot where they just basically took their inside receivers and worked them towards the sidelines and forced those safeties to play man coverage and basically created leverage issues for those safeties in their pre-snap alignments. And Carson Beck's got the arm to do that type of game plan as well. Here you're going to see Keenan Nelson Jr. That's him, number 18 right there. I don't know if they'll actually play him against Georgia because they tried some different things against Wofford. He got hurt a little bit. I don't think it's major, but UNC really picked on him. He gave up 2 touchdowns against Carolina. Like Georgia's going to work the slots if he's out there. Here again, talking about the run game, but specifically the right side of the offensive line. Carolina had a lot of success going off the right side. You see Georgia kind of found something off the right side late in the game last week. They started running off the right side behind Mims and Ratledge a lot, and I think they kind of know that's where to go if they need to run the ball successfully, and that's also sort of the left side of Carolina's defensive line is what you want to run against. Here, you get the same kid, 18, in coverage, Keenan Nelson, and it's just tight end, or I'm not sure if that's their tight end or if he's just a big, lanky slot receiver. This is a crazy throw by Drake May, but just struggles to find the ball in the air, not super composed, pretty normal for a young corner. But they, and then looks like we got our Mitch Jeter onside kick here.
Yeah, it's coming up. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, out of practice. Here it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, Shane has adopted the Beamer ball moniker that his father made famous at Virginia Tech in the 90s and early 2000s. He is going to try and create – oh, you can show that too. That's a – or wait, no. Never mind. Yeah, that's interesting. You're good.
Yeah.
But just, again, trying to drive home the point of big runs off the right side. But, yeah, I mean, that's Carolina. They ran a fake punt against Georgia last year successfully, and they're probably going to try and steal a possession in this game. It's, they're a lot of teams are going to try and steal possessions against Georgia this year. They're going to have to. So I expect that we will see.
Make me small, Graham. Make me.
I got you. The horror. Yeah. So I mean, if you're like, I typed up like 6 pages of player and scheme notes that are on the Dog Central subscribers forum right now. Honestly, probably spent too much time doing it, but it was first conference game of the year. I was fired up for it. So
for anybody that knows me knows that I'm working with you has commented on your 12 takeaways and your deep dive. So I think you better keep it up. No pressure.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. So I mean, I think for me, just sort of looking at this game, those are kind of the key things that stood out to me. I thought, we talked all this about South Carolina's passing offense and how good they've been. I do think in reality, what's fascinating is Rattlers got 83 dropbacks this year, and only 11 of those are off play action because their run game is so bad and their offensive line has been so suspect that they can't even really run play action. And so a lot of this stuff for Carolina really comes down to underneath. Like they're going to try and hit Leggett on some deep 50-50 shots for sure. But the way that they're going to stay on schedule in this game is working Trey Knox behind the linebackers and working these screens and short stuff and just try to get 4 yards on first down, and because they were behind the sticks all night against UNC.
Yeah, it was a tough game for that offense with all the O-line stuff. It's a tough matchup facing Drake May and a pretty elite offense or bordering on elite offense. So I was on North Carolina for that game. And I was on the South Carolina under for the season, but we'll find out. They've got if they've got Leggett and they can get Juice Wells back and they can continue to be creative and Spencer can continue to improve. And I mean, he was a sub 70 PFF graded player last year. So if he's mid 70s, that's a huge jump and can be problematic for, hopefully not Saturday, but could be problematic for some SEC teams going forward.
I mean, right now he's got an offensive grade of 86.1 from PFF and a passing grade of 82.6. Like he's playing really, really well. I think there's some things that he's gotten away with while under pressure and on the run against some less talented secondaries that I don't know you can get away with against Georgia. So, that's going to be interesting. But at the end of the day, like we said a second ago, just the pass blocking was so poor. I mean, seven pressures from the left tackle position against UNC. Like that's his blind side. And they played 2 different guys there. One gave up 3, the other gave up 4. Like every starting offensive lineman for Carolina gave up at least 3 pressures against UNC. So it's just like there's not really a safe spot. I'm sure they'll get Trey Knox to help out. There's going to be some things I'm sure they try to do, but Georgia's defensive line really, I think, has an opportunity to kind of make a statement in this game. And, we talked a lot. There's, Nolan Smith talked a lot during his draft interview process of like Georgia playing the run with a light box and being able to control the run with a light box so that they can have enough guys to commit to the back end against more explosive passing offenses. And this is one of those games where Georgia should be able to play, 5, 6, and maybe even sometimes 5 up front in the box, control South Carolina's run game. And, instead of having to always man up in different situations in the secondary, They can play some zone coverage on the back end. They can keep 2 high safeties back there. Big storyline for me in this game is Javon Bullard. Is he healthy or not? Because they're going to take shots.
Yeah, and also I think setting the edge, they're not going to try to run between the tackles. They're not going to run into the teeth of even a light box defense. They're going to go at the edges. They're going to get their running backs and their wide receivers out there. They're going to move the pocket. They're going to attack away from the strength of that defense, and then maybe soften it up the middle. So you're going to need some good edge play. You're going to need some good linebacker play in coverage, and that's what I expect to. I mean, they're not going to beat their head against the wall trying to run the ball up the middle. So, but also I think, if Georgia can continue to keep a very low success rate on to the South Carolina offense, it's like limit the snaps on the drives. I mean, I do think that the pressure will mount, and they're going to force some mistakes from Spencer Rattler, and whoever's in the secondary should have some opportunity to make some plays.
Absolutely, yeah. So what is your kind of final analysis score prediction for this game?
I'm liking 31-10 kind of game. I think it'll be decisive.
Low scoring for Georgia, huh?
Yeah, a little low scoring. I just think that the possessions I think they're going to run the ball a little more, and I think there's just not going to be an urgency I think Georgia's going to be in control of the game. I can see a 21-7, 17-7 halftime score, and then just a shutdown defense get on the bus second half.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I think Georgia's going to have success controlling this offense. I think that they're going to hit some plays at some point because they just kind of got to. It may feel similar to kind of what we saw Bama do against Texas, where it's just like sort of 40-yard bomb or bust at times because they just don't, Rattler's got the ability to make shorter throws, but you can't – it's just so hard to beat Georgia trying to gain 4 yards every play down the field, like nobody's really ever been able to do that since Kirby's gotten there and gotten the program, kind of rolling the way he has. What's going to be, the thing to watch for me is just, kind of how easily Georgia gets pressure, like we were talking about. I do think we'll see Carolina maybe move the ball between the 20s some, but the thing that really stood out to me about that UNC game, man, they had 11 scoring opportunities in that game. 11 times they got inside the 40, and they averaged 1.55 points per scoring opportunity. So, like, every time the field shrank, they didn't have any answers. Dowell Loggins is the offensive coordinator there now, and God knows he's obviously not working with a great offensive line or anything like that, but, like, it's just like thinking about Kirby Smart, Will Muschamp, and Glenn Schumann dialing up a game plan against Dowell Loggins is like thinking about, a lion hunting down a gazelle on the plains of Africa or something. Like, it's a mismatch that is going to end probably in a bloody, gory mess. So I think Georgia's defense will have a good day. As well as Rattler has played, you and I've talked before. You're the one that taught me, truthfully, that these under pressure stats from the quarterbacks, that they're subject to a high amount of variance. And he has been really good under pressure. I think that probably comes back down to earth a little bit on Saturday, maybe results in a turnover or two for Carolina. But I'm very fascinated to see Georgia's offense in this game. Can they run the ball with some consistency?
Was that North Carolina that was under the 2.0, 2 yards, 2 points per opportunity that you said?
South Carolina had
1.5
points an opportunity and 11 opportunities against
UNC. North Carolina is for the season is 2.8, 117th. So thinking of, that's not good. Not good. Especially
I think I still have I have the box score from that game pulled up on college football data still. Yeah. Points per opportunity, South Carolina, 11 opportunities, 17 points, 1.55.
Yeah, 3.1 for the season, 109th in FBS. So they're actually better than North Carolina. But
slightly. Yeah, I mean, Furman will do that for you. But yeah, on offense, man, I mean, I think Georgia's going to attack the linebackers and safeties like we talked about in the film part. Brock Bowers will obviously be part of that, but I think Oscar Delp has a big game on Saturday. I think they're going to line him up in the slot. He's going to look big. He's going to, be a nice physical matchup against some of those slot corners that are a little suspect, like we talked about. And I think he makes a big pass player too. We'll see some corner routes. I think we'll see some misdirection type throwback stuff from Georgia, maybe in the screen game at some point or another. I think Dylan Bell has a big game. I think he plays, a significant amount of snaps at running back. I think Dejan Edwards gets back out there, and I think this was the game last year where Georgia kind of showed they were an elite perimeter blocking team. I think they'll get back to some of that, whether that's Mew and Smith, I don't know, but I think they'll get some explosive run after the catch type play on the edges at one point or another. And I think they roll against two overmatched lines, Georgia 45, South Carolina 10.
All right. Like it. Any other games?
Yeah. Let's talk about some other games. Do you have anything that you're particularly interested in?
One outside the SEC is I want to see how many points Kansas can put up against Nevada. That is a huge that is just show that heat map there if you can find it.
Yeah, that's it right there, right?
Yeah, top there. Nevada's down near the bottom of that heat map, and Kansas is up near the top. So I don't know what the total is on that, but I would like the over on that. Okay. This Kansas State Missouri game is going to be really good. You just kind of landed on that.
Sorry.
No, it's good. I was good. It was one of the games I want to talk about. I
do want to talk about that game too. What do you think about that game?
I think it's gonna be a field goal game kind of thing. Field goal less than a touchdown. I think that Missouri is. I think I like Missouri. I think Kansas State beat them last year, and I think this is a better Missouri team this year and better on offense. Certainly, they're over 50% success rate so far. And I think it's going to be a good game. And I think I like the SEC to sort of have a bounce back weekend in this game here because it's been a kind of tough out of conference schedule versus Power 5 competition for the league so far.
But, yeah, man. So I was the guy that voted in front of God and my mother and everybody at SEC Media Days on Missouri finishing third in the East, which this has no bearing on that because it's not a conference game, but it would be a really nice indicator that they're capable of doing that. I think their defense is very, very good. I've been thinking about where am I going this weekend from a betting standpoint? Who do I want to ride? And having a really, really hard time being like, I'm going to bet my own American dollars on Brady Cook,
Do it.
I mean, Kansas State's down to a 3.5 point favorite in a game.
Yeah, getting points at home.
I mean, yeah, but they lost. They got annihilated in this game by Kansas State last year. Although that was kind of a fluky turnover fest. I still, I think I'm going to end up riding Missouri. I
think Missouri's defense is so much better this year than I think it's going to be. It's not going to get blown out. That's my feeling on that. They may not win, but they're gonna make a better showing at home with a good defense. They're 31% success rate allowed. Explosive play percentage is down 6%. So, and most of those are running games, so they're not getting beat over the top. Very low EPA passing allowed. So, I'm just not sure they can win, but I like Missouri to play hard, keep it close.
Nice. Okay. Do you have any thoughts on LSU Mississippi State? 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. I should say.
I should have looked at this because right when you said that, I was like, I wonder if there was a look ahead line from the summer on this game.
It's 9.5. LSU is favored right now, which is a pretty big number on the road. in the SEC against it. I don't know if we don't really know if LSU is any good or Mississippi State's any good at this moment, to be honest.
I think Mississippi State's met their sort of expectation. They got a big win the other night against that was Arizona, right? Arizona State played Oklahoma State, so that was Arizona at home. They got a big win. Like my coach Arnett dropping the F-bomb in the post game on the field. That was my favorite moment of the weekend. So I just liked it. I'm kind of a big fan of Arnett, and
I'm pulling for him. It's hard not to pull for him.
And I'm just wondering, but LSU's, got to have a bounce back game here. So, they put up a bunch of points versus Grambling the other day. They had they're an explosive offense, right? You can see that they're probably one of the tops in the conferences, top of FBS at 19% explosive play rate. So too many of those might put this game out of reach for Mississippi State. 10, that's a big number. I can see them covering though. So I'm not betting. I wouldn't bet it, but if you make me make a pick, I'm going to lay the points with LSU.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I mean, Mississippi State, nice win for them, but they were plus 3 turnovers, I think, in the first quarter, and we're up 14-0 in that game, and still didn't really have the ability to run away and hide. The crazy thing is just the huge difference in passing for them so far this year versus stop tapping your finger.
Sorry, I was trying to pull up the box spring.
It's just coming through. Yeah, I mean, I think it's weird because Will Rogers only threw 7, 8, 10 passes past the line of scrimmage last week, and he led the country in pass attempts for 2 years in a row and in the air raid. So I'm waiting to see what this offense really is, but Arnett is a defensive guy. I kind of worry for Mississippi State's sake that, he's going to maybe keep the strings a little too tight on his offense until he learns that he can't, but he's going to try and rely on his defense until then. What do you think about I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just kind of reiterate what I said. I think it's a big game for LSU. They need to prove something and get some confidence and get back on the. And I just don't think they're going to mess around with that offense that has potential to blow the doors off of a lot of teams. And I'm just wondering how much defense they can rally around. It's a defensive led team, but yeah, I like LSU in that game.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that if they don't win, Brian Kelly's on the hot seat immediately.
Ooh.
He is. I mean, he is, dude. If they don't win that game, he is immediately under fire. I personally kind of almost, and I like Jaden Daniels. I don't have a problem with the kid at all, but I almost feel like the best thing for LSU's season would be for them to struggle enough on offense this week to go to Nussmeier, and then they just get the bombs away treatment for the rest of the year, because I think he's an elite passer on a level that Daniels is not. And I think that could really raise their ceiling, but something is going to have to happen to make that go down. Washington and Michigan State. Washington's a 16.5-point favorite. Michigan State, we are not going to talk about anything that's going on at Michigan State on this show. That is not what we do here. But I'm just here to say I think Washington is I think they've been elite through 2 weeks. I predicted them to make the playoffs in the offseason. I'm standing by it. That offense is hell on wheels. Their defense is playing much better in the back end than they did last year, obviously against not great opponents, but I don't think Michigan State's quarterback's worth a damn either, So I'm laying 16.5 with Washington, and I'm going to sleep well at night doing it.
Yeah, I'd tell you on that for sure. It is on the road, but Washington looks like a team that is going to make a lot of statements. I mean, they're
Mhm.
scoring 50 a game at this point. Nearly 60% success rate on offense and a .555 total EPA. That's not sustainable unless you're 2019 LSU, but which they might be for all we know. But yeah, they're not going to mess around with a wounded animal in Michigan State, and they'll blow the doors off of them.
Yeah, another game that I kind of have a weird feeling about is you'll probably tell me I'm wrong here from a statistics standpoint is my initial reaction to these heat maps, but Indiana played Ohio State like pretty well, and I don't know. I mean, Louisville just kind of has like a long history of sort of like crap in the bed and situations where they should win. They're a 10-point favorite, but they got to go on the road to Bloomington. I don't know that I think Indiana can win the game outright, but I think they can make it a slop fest and maybe cover.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it would have to be. It would have to be a sloppy game, the Louisville team, because you can see up there, top right in that offensive heat map up there, they're up there, 55% success rate, 0.5459 EPA. So, they're a much better offense than Indiana could muster on its best day. So, yeah, they're going to have to make it sloppy on defense. I'm not sure I'd lay 10 on the road, but I think Louisville gets out of there with a win.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right analysis. Game I'm fascinated in, again, sicko mode, but probably some gambling opportunity here. Buddy, what about Iowa? Damn it, wrong Iowa. Hold on.
Just hit it again.
I got it. There we go. Bam. Look at that, dude. This PDF is awesome. Western Michigan, Iowa, they're right on top of each other on this heat map. Okay. We know that Kirk Ferentz is on the drive for 25 every week. He's got to score 25 points a week to not get fired. Nepotism is an incredible thing, and I, really enjoy watching it play out publicly. But Iowa's a 28.5-point favorite, bro. Okay, these dudes ain't scored 28.5 points against anybody since I think Nevada of last year off the top of my head, but I'm going to check right now. Like, tell me why I shouldn't lay 28.5.
You should take 28. You take the 28.
Why shouldn't I take Western Michigan? Iowa, they scored.
This could be a shutout. It's the only thing.
It could.
It could be a shutout.
It could.
Western Michigan is not a great offense.
Counterpoint, Iowa's also like very prone to playing very close games against teams like this. They played South Dakota State to a 7-3 game in their opener last year. I was wrong. They did not score 28 against Nevada last year. They scored 27. They beat Nevada 27-0. The last time that Iowa eclipsed the 28-point mark was against Northwestern last year, and that Northwestern team was terrible. Other than that, they did not score 28 points all season.
They have a negative EPA running the ball.
It's really incredible, honestly, man.
No, I mean, the only reason is just 27-24 game. But what's the total? Do you have a total there anywhere?
The total is
30? No, it's got to be 33.
It's 42. Oh, I'm on 42. That under all day, dude. Yeah.
So they're saying that Western Michigan will be able to move the ball and score.
I don't think either team is going to be able to really move the ball and score. So I'll take the chances that one of them won't be able to, because Vegas seems to be giving me that.
Yeah, 28.5 in the hook.
Vegas must think that Iowa's offense is better than it's shown so far.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah, that's got to be what it is. Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, like you said, I mean, that's that drive for 25, and they need to get some over 25s. This might be the game to do it in.
It might.
I don't think I could put money on this on this game.
Well, the problem with putting money on it is that then you got to watch it, right? So Yeah, it is pretty gross. I won't deny it. Do you have an opinion on Tennessee and Florida?
I do.
Okay, let's talk
I
about
do.
that.
I do have it. I think that Tennessee is going to win this game, but it's going to be a dogfight, and I like the points.
Tennessee is favored by 6.5 right now.
Did it open at 7.5? Did I have that right?
It opened at 4.5, Josh.
Okay. Sorry.
Which is interesting. No, I wasn't like trying to admonish you. It just surprised me.
Did it move towards Tennessee? Yeah.
Well, did it open at 4.5 at all? The look-ahead line last week on that game was 7. I looked at it on Saturday afternoon, and I had been watching Tennessee Austin Peay for more time than I care to admit, and I considered betting Florida then.
Florida's defense is good. It's better. It is good, and Tennessee's offense has not. Now I'm going to throw out that Austin Peay game. It's fun to drag them on Twitter for that game versus them, but I think there was a delay, and it was just a messy game. There was 3. I know that some wide receivers dropped some balls.
Lots of drops for them so far this year.
Yeah. So, but I mean, Florida's defense is good. I mean, if they had any offense in Utah, that game was going to be a toss-up. And I just think going to the Swamp, it's a night game, right?
7 o'clock game, 7 o'clock Eastern kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that there's matchups that can cause on that defense that's going to test Milton, and I kind of like the points in this.
I do too. The over/under here is 58.5, and I like that play as well. I think that there's some definite. There's a scenario where this kind of turns into like a 24-20 kind of game. I think this game could be very similar to the Florida-Utah game that we watched a couple weeks ago. To your point, so I'll be watching that and kind of just seeing. Another line that we're not going to talk about on a really deep breakdown analysis thing, but a line that kind of stunk to me was South Alabama plus 7.5 on the road at Oklahoma State. That might be worth a money line sprinkle. I'll just put it out there.
Yeah, I saw some bettors, some pro bettors like that. That's like a 3-point miss by Vegas on a couple little odds that I get. So Ed, the power rank, Ed Fang.
South Al's got a good staff, a good team. They're a veteran group. They will not be afraid of going into Stillwater, in my opinion. Any opinions on Georgia Tech, Ole Miss?
Georgia Tech's offense is playing better than it has in many years. If you bring up that heat map, you're going to see they're way up in there in offensive efficiency.
Who did they play last week?
South Carolina State. So,
okay. Well, they played really well on offense against Louisville too.
Yeah, they did and then they kind of lost their identity there for an unfortunate period there in the second half. But I think it'll be interesting. This will be an interesting game. I think I would probably not bet against Ole Miss in this game, but I'm very curious to see if that Georgia Tech offense is for real, because Ole Miss's defense is playing fine, but it's not a superb or what I expect to be a superb defense. So, right. I mean, if Georgia Tech can get some points, I mean, and just have one of those moral victories, I might be a believer in what Brent Key's building over there. But I think just the Ole Miss offense is stupid good right now. So,
yeah, I mean, I know Ole Miss has all these weapons, but I mean, they really didn't impress me that much against Tulane. Like they did not really create explosives, move the ball with a lot of efficiency in the red zone. They're given 18 points in this game. That's a lot.
That's a lot of points, yeah.
I think I need to do a little more research, truthfully, before I would lay it on my sheet, but I will call that Georgia Tech plus 18 is definitely a lean for me. Trying to see, is there any other games you're interested in talking about?
No, I think you covered it. The one I'm really excited for is the Tennessee game. Okay. It's kind of fun to have Tennessee and Florida mean something a little bit.
Mm-hmm. It is. I agree.
And a night game at the Swamp. Hopefully, as we'll be nursing our afternoon and evening beers from a Georgia South Carolina victory. I'm just screwed up my. I was looking at the Ole Miss Tulane box score and I screwed up the red zone opportunities there, so I won't be able to talk about that.
No worries.
Yeah, it was a pedestrian offensive performance there. So yeah, there'd be like just to put a pin on, put a cap on that game. Yeah, 18's a lot of points, but I'm very curious about that. Sorry, I'm all over the place. So
that's okay. Yeah, it is one game that's also on my radar, just because Texas is kind of recent history, is Wyoming going on the road to Texas. I think 28.5 is a lot of points in this game. Wyoming is a very, very good G5 team, as you can see on these heat maps. They're those two logos aren't very far apart from each other, and I know that the roster talent is very far apart, but Wyoming just beat Texas Tech in Laramie a couple of weeks ago, and they did that in a game that was like very much a line of scrimmage game. It was not a fluky win. Like they, shut down their run. They played really well. I don't think they got a shot of pulling off the upset outright, but I'm going to lay the 28.5 and trust Craig Bowl. And I think that Texas, big game last week. Guys are a little worn out, maybe not super focused and fired up to play this one. Probably some guys dinged up from a physical game against Bama. They'll try to get out healthy, keep this game short.
Yeah, they'll keep it short, and they want to improve on those rushing stats. They want to be able to run the ball, so that could lend itself to, get out early,
less possessions.
Yeah, less possessions and stuff, and maybe they don't. If Wyoming can figure out a way to score 7 or 10 points, I can see that them covering in that game there.
I am on Arizona minus 18 versus UTEP. Any team that gets blown out of the water by Northwestern is a automatic fade for the rest of 2023 for me. UTEP played absolutely horrid football last week. It was a crime against humanity. Losing a football game to Northwestern by 31 points is something that nobody should ever do in the year 2023. So I'm gonna bear down, baby. Second week in a row. They covered against Mississippi State for me last week, and I think they're gonna cover for me again. Quick shout out, because you guys know that you might not know, but your boy here went to the New Mexico Bowl last year. I live out here in the Four Corners, land of enchantment, very close to my heart. We got the New Mexico State, New Mexico matchup. 6 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time on Saturday evening, I should say. Coming to you live from Albuquerque. No idea what's going to happen. New Mexico is a 1-point favorite. I have personally adopted the Aggies as my New Mexico flavor of football. So I'm hoping the high-flying Diego Pavia and the rest of Jerry Kill's boys can pull that off. So I'm not going to bet any of my own money on it, but on a kind of crappy slate weekend.
I'm assuming you've already used some home field discounts on some Aggie gear.
You know what? Thank you for prompting that. We are sponsored by Home Field Apparel. We had their ticker up a little earlier in the show. If you were watching on YouTube, you saw it. But if you weren't, then I should tell you about how they have the best throwback collegiate apparel of anyone out there. Just really great stuff. I'm wearing one of their shirts right now. They're soft, they're cozy, they're comfortable. My wife continues to steal a lot of the things that Home Field has sent me. So I probably need to buy some New Mexico State gear so that I can have some for myself to wear. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the thing that I often say is, like, please support the people that support us.
Amen.
yeah, we're out here, independent media outlet, scrapping along, putting out a lot of content, and trying to make this thing happen and making it happen. So that is happening in part thanks to partners like Home Field. So use code DOGCentral23, DAWGS Central 23 for 20% off on homefieldapparel.com. They've done a cool UGA drop recently. And, I'm also like a big fan of if you got a wagon that you ride as a gambler, like Ohio was for a lot of people in, October, November of last year, like you should buy some of their shit, quite frankly.
Yeah. Montana State Bobcat guy this year.
There you go. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes the sport much richer if you pull for not just, your own team, but also some teams that play in a little different league or in a different region of the country. And, who knows, maybe you'll end up taking a road trip to watch Wyoming play one week in your life or something like that. It would be cool. Enjoy all the flavors of college football because there's like 130 something of them instead of just 32. Yeah. And speaking of Home Field Apparel, I did just get permission to announce today on the show that we will be doing a live event with those guys in Athens the Friday night before homecoming, which is the Missouri game. We'll be at the Foundry Hotel from 5 until 10-ish p.m. There will be free alcohol there, and we'll be doing like a live panel type discussion for an hour or so, and that will include Q&A, and they'll obviously be selling plenty of Georgia gear. I'll put out the details soon on Twitter and obviously on Dog Central, but there's only going to be about 250 seats for the show portion of that, and that they'll be free and they'll come with free booze, but you got to make sure you get a ticket before they all get snapped up. So keep your eyes peeled for that. If you're on the Dog Central subscriber crew, then you'll obviously see that pinned to the top of the forum as soon as I'm allowed to put all the links and stuff out there.
Awesome. Thank you, Graham.
Yeah, thank you, man. Last question for you. Any what was I going to ask you about? Oh, Colorado State, Colorado. Buffs are favored by 24. It's kind of a big deal out here in my neck of the woods. Rocky Mountain Showdown.
I couldn't, like many, I was totally wrong on Colorado this far. It'll be interesting if you're looking at it from metrics and gambling, all that sort of stuff. If, people can't adjust their models quick enough for Colorado. So I think a lot of people are hoping that Colorado destroys Colorado State and that it makes good numbers for the Oregon USC side the weeks following. So that's my friends on the Deep Dive DGens Discord server are really hoping for that because they're still waiting for a little bit of that air to come out of that balloon, I think. So, but
yeah, it's got to come back to earth some way at some point.
Yeah. And Colorado State's not good, right? I got that right?
They're terrible. Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
Washington State, they were like a 10-point underdog against Washington State, which was like a popular pick, or maybe it was like 6 even opening weekend, and they got just blown out of the water. That's a program that continues to have a ton of potential, but they never actually have been good in the last.
Well, if Deion starts pulling all these players from all over the country, that maybe some local talent can come home and maybe.
There ain't much of it though out here. Yeah, so
there's that.
Yeah, sparse populated part of the world. Yeah, thank you guys. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say they were 2-11 with Colorado players.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they need to find a way to recruit Florida out in Colorado's or in Fort Collins, I should say. All right, buddy. Thanks for doing this, guys. Go follow Josh on Twitter at DogStats. No longer an underscore in his name, just DAWG Stats. Very simple, straightforward. Come check out the stuff that he's doing on the Dog Central forum. it's awesome. And it's gorgeous, as you can see with these heat maps. And if you like to bet on college football, if you like to consider what's happening in Las Vegas around college football, checking out his stuff is really, really worth your time. And it definitely is something that I use to inform some of my decision making on my picks every weekend. So, Josh, thanks for everything that you do for us and for the people. And go Dogs, man.
Go Dogs.